Well there, jeez Louise, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. I, of course, am MrWarrenHayes, and for the next few dozens of minutes, we are going to be talking about the sport of kings, the human game of chess, this one thing that brings the spirit of fierce, strong style competition known as professional wrestling. That's what we're going to be talking about. That's what I do every Thursday night. And this is what I do on this podcast right here called the MrWarrenHayes Show. It's actually, about wrestling. Now, early years ago, someone asked me, Warren, why did you call your podcast the MrWarrenHayes Show? And I'm like, well, I am a narcissist. And that sort of ended the conversation. What do you respond to that kind of thing? Like you're just asking someone, like a very legitimate question, right? And so, why did you do this? And I'm a narcissist. And okay, let's move on. And ultimately, there's nothing to follow up with that. Because if you say to the person talking, look, I'm a narcissist, that other person, there's two things that can happen here. Either the conversation, I think the most natural thing is that the conversation ends, right? Because then the person in front of you, there is a fair chance that person is not narcissistic. So we'll be like, well, I guess I don't have anything to add here because we're just going to be talking about you. Or the second thing that could happen is that the other person is a narcissist as well, and they'll be talking. I'm not saying that all narcissists are male. They'll be talking about themselves. You'll be talking about yourself. So basically, it'll just be two people talking like to a wall, right? Just like, and then no real exchange of ideas, nothing rich, nothing enlivening to come out of that type of conversation. And it's just a very interesting. I would like to see two narcissists have a conversation. The more I'm thinking about, the more I'm letting this play out in my head. I don't think I'm a narcissist, by the way. That was a joke. I don't think I could be wrong. Like, yeah, look, a narcissist trait is a lack of self-awareness. So it's like, am I? Look, I don't think I am, but if I am, I won't realize that I am. That's the real beauty of it all. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. Yes, because it's Thursday night. It's January 27th. Month of January is almost up. Hope you guys had a wonderful, wonderful January. Around here, it was cold as hell. If hell was cold. That's a weird expression, right? Anyway, I'm going off on another tangent. Cold as hell, where hell is anything but cold, right? So why do we say cold as hell? What was the other expression I was talking about the other day on Twitter? See, here's the thing. There's these expressions that come out and like, I don't quite grasp it. And here's another one. Here's a good one. And you hear it often in wrestling, right? Talking about a country mile, right? We're talking about a country mile. So if we get a apparently, like it's an expression to say, that it's so far, like, it was MJF that was using the expression, and I've heard it before, but it always struck me as weird, and I sort of made a thing. He said, Wardlow, you're he said Powerhouse Hobbs is the biggest big guy in wrestling by a country mile, meaning that like there's no one even close, right? He's so far down. He's so good, like he's all the way down that country mile. But then I'm like, isn't that kind of like this old, like brain twister, this sort of gotcha question where you ask someone, it's like, what's heavier, a pound of bricks or a pound of feathers? And the person was like, a pound of bricks. Well, no, they both weigh a pound. There might be more volume On the feather side, might take up more place to reach a pound, but a pound of bricks and a pound of feathers weighs the same. So when we get to when we're talking about the country mile, I'm like, a mile is a mile. It's a fixed unit of measure, right? Like it's not an arbitrary measure. It's not so it's like so I'm like, why is a country mile longer unless folk in the country, like I'm talking like hillbillies, I'm talking like your real deal, backwoods, insular communities. Maybe they have a different measuring way to measure miles, but I don't think so. And then people on Twitter, very, very kind, because they could have just immediately just flipped me off and say, Warren, you're such a stupid fucking moron to be wasting our time with this kind of garbage, as I'm kind of doing right now. But they tell me it's like a country mile, essentially, it considers the fact that usually country roads are very sinewy and maybe, they're not a straight line, and they might take a very long path to reach that 1 mile distance. You might have to, sort of twist and turn and curve all around kind of thing. I'm like, so basically it's not better, because then that's inefficient, right? Then it's a mark of inefficiency. If you're telling me he's better, Powerhouse Hobbs is the best big man by a country mile, then to me, your unit of measuring the quality of Powerhouse Hobbs is inefficient. You should not be using that methodology to determine whether or not he's better than everyone, It's strange. Anyway. It's like in French we have an expression, in Quebec, I should say in Quebec. I don't think it's an actual I don't think it's an actual feud. I don't think it's an actual word used in France, or an expression. I mean, I'm trying to say, Jesus, get it together, Warren. You're off by a country mile. Fou comme un balai is the expression that we use here in Quebec, which means, literally translated, means crazy like a broom. Okay, and it's usually used to express someone who's excited, who's very, very agitated, like a child, a child who just starts, woo, is on a sugar rush or something, and just going, and you'd say, il est fou comme un balai. He's crazy like a broom, and that one's been eating at me for years, because I don't know what is so crazy about a broom. What makes a broom so crazy that you'd be like, this is my reference point here to say this kid right now, he's out of control. Welcome. I did say that we were going to talk about professional wrestling on the MrWarrenHayes show. Which is, I'm not a narcissist, or so I believe. Look, we do this live, right? Every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. And that means that we have lovely, lovely people joining us here live and in the chat. Tim Traver, longtime friend of the show, good friend of the show. The Diecast Collective. Good to see you, Tim. Welcome to the chat. We've got Robert Larry, who's here as well. Kelly Tonjes. Heather is here as well. Nice to see all of you. Fantastic. We've also got Justin Firestein, who's here. Mr. Fretz. Nice to see you, Fretz, old man. AK Germany 96 is here as well. We got Pete Davies. Nice to see you. Big T is in the house. Big T. Nice to see you too. And we've also got DGMC, who's a member of the MrWarrenHayes Show channel for 21 months. Delivered a message, says Anakin sucks. Well, not to be outdone, Anakin JMT, who is also here, nice to see Anakin, left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Anakin. He says, obligatory DGMC is a coward. Super chat. The feud rages on, spilling into the support of the MrWarrenHayes show. Hey, you know, if you want to show some support, here's a few ways that you can show some support to MrWarrenHayes show. You can leave a super chat. Absolutely. I will read your question or comment live on the air. That's a given. I've been doing that for eons. Eons. Okay? Then you can also become a member of the MrWarrenHayes Show channel, kind of like DGMC has. Become a member, join the MrWarrenHayes Show. Good way to show some support. Plus, you get access to the post stream that I do immediately after the main show here that I record. We hang out with the members. We take Discord calls. We chat, live chat on the YouTube channel and in the Discord. Everyone's having a good time. And tonight, you know what we're talking about? We're talking about Royal Rumble predictions. I'm sitting down with the members, and the members are telling me what they're expecting from the big Royal Rumble show this weekend. Royal Rumble is, I think it is the most universally loved WWE pay-per-view. I think everyone likes the Rumble. So I'm excited. I like the Royal Rumble. I'm excited to see what the members are going to talk about tonight on the MrWarrenHayes show, post show that I like to call Warren is Off the Clock, because everything's much more relaxed and chill. It'll be a good time. Trust me, it'll be a good time. And if you want, if you want like my complete, my utter, oh, look at that. That's my new super chat notification right there that you just heard, that you just saw, for $5 and up. Super chats. Look at that. From Anakin JMT as well. He says, it won't be as good as Alex's, but can Tony D explain how he'll win the Rumble? We're talking about Tony D'Angelo. Is he going to be in the Royal Rumble? Maybe as a surprise. And look, thank you very much, by the way, for the super chat, Anakin. I appreciate it. And the very first with the new $5 notification tier right there. But here's the thing. If you want to hear my full Royal Rumble predictions, I have them out there. They've been out there since a few days ago. We recorded, when I say we recorded this a few days ago. When I say we, I mean me and Alex, the Queen of the Ring. Very, very, very lovely person that I was enchanted to have chat Royal Rumble with me. Alex is great. And go check out the predictions. We went through the entire thing at that point. We went through the entire thing, and it's recorded. It's right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, or on your favorite podcast application, where you can catch the MrWarrenHayes show anytime you want. If you enjoy what's going on here right now, hey, do consider giving the video a thumbs up here. That'd be fantastic. Also consider going to Bell to Bells. That's your women's wrestling wire for everything that has to do with women's wrestling. Kristen still having a nice, relaxing decompression vacation thing. She's going to be back very, very soon with much more content there. So be sure to follow belltobells.com, BELLTOBELLEES.com. Follow us on Twitter as well, or on our YouTube page, youtube.com/belltobells. There's already tons of interviews up there with fantastic wrestlers. I'm excited. You're excited. We're all excited. Want to say hello to Patrick Mason. Nice to see you, Patrick. And William Davis is here as well. Oh, you meant Alex Pawlowski. You see, I know too many Alexes. Sorry, Anakin. I know too many Alexes. I know Alex, the Queen of the Ring. I know Alex Pawlowski. I know Alex the baker from the bakery, not too far from here. I know Alex Trebek. Alex Kozlov, but I don't really know him. I don't really know Alex Trebek either. Look, I know enough Alexes for it to be confusing. Yeah, so there we go. All right, so As you guys know, you all know how this works by now. It's been a couple of weeks I've been doing it. Got to keep up with my New Year's resolution. So it's time once again to say something nice about Bill Goldberg in this segment that I like to call 52 Nice Things About Bill Goldberg.
MrWarrenHayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
Goldberg has a better spear than Brandy Rhodes.
MrWarrenHayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
And look, and to be fair, in all fairness here, I saw Brandy Rhodes had a match on Dark this week, and she wrestled Willow Nightingale. I thought she looked very good. I think she did good. Just to make sure, this isn't just like your wanton stream where I'm just shitting on people. There's plenty of other places for that. You never know though who might end up on MrWarrenHayes' shit list. It's very short. And there's one guy that I can't say any bad things about. Well, no, it's not that I can't say anything bad about him. I have to say one good thing per week. So I'm good for this week. Anyway, let's go. Let's start the weekly wrestling inspection. Let's do this. Oh, it was a wild week for work stuff for your boy here, and I feel like I'm decompressing right now. I'm having a good time hanging out with everyone, enjoying getting into the mood to talk about wrestling. I mean, it always puts me in a good mood. Unless there's really like some shitty stuff to talk about, I always get in a very good mood. So hopefully that continues. So as I fired up the old live stream, I put out a poll for the live viewers, the live chat hanging out here tonight, and I asked them what I should start talking about this week. 53% of the live audience want me to start talking about AEW. Let's go right ahead. Now, before we start talking about the shows in and about themselves, a topic that has been gathering a lot of attention. A lot of people have been talking about it for multiple reasons. The contracts in AEW are clearly starting to expire. We knew this was upcoming. No one has a job forever. We're heading into year 3. We're heading into year 3 of the company. So, it was eventually some people were going to be, cast off, let go. And frankly, it's extremely normal because at some point you can't keep everyone you bring in, and you try some stuff out. It doesn't quite work. Say thank you very much, and so on and so forth. So as it stands, notwithstanding the big swole situation from before December, I should say, which, we don't necessarily have to retread at this moment here, because I've already talked about it quite a bit. We know that Lio Rush, for instance, has announced that his contract is going to be up on February 14th. He came out and said that, and he says his AEW contract is coming to a full stop, and he's just looking for bookings. So we know that's coming up. Without there having been any official announcements, Peter Avalon and Marco Stunt have both announced on their Twitter accounts that they're taking any and all bookings. Well, maybe not all, but they're taking bookings. They're open for business. They want to wrestle. They're ready to take some bookings. And I'm like, okay. It's not an official ta-ta. Like, it's not like, okay, you guys are out of here. But you do feel like there's, that might be conducive to something happening within AEW. Then of course it gets, you know, a lot of people thinking Tony Khan. I can't remember, probably on Busted Open, right? Or on Barstool, wherever, you know, wherever he goes and hangs out, said that, you know, he would be releasing people, not renewing their contracts. Excuse me, not the same. He would not be renewing the contracts of some people, and a lot of them would be individuals that haven't been featured on television recently, which adds fuel to the Marco Stunt and Peter Avalon predictions, I guess. But then it sort of makes you think about Joey Janela, right? Brian Cage. Brian Cage has been a bit of a contentious issue for a while. And Colt Cabana, who we haven't really seen a lot of in the past few months, like outside of, I think his last Dynamite match, or his last televised match, I should say, because I'm not sure if it was, I think it was Dynamite, was his match against Bryan Danielson, the warm-up match to Adam Page, right? So we haven't really seen him since then. He hasn't been out with the Dark Order, you know, as part of the clique, so on and so forth. So, you know, that might be one to fall into that package as well. And then it's got me observing and thinking, you know, we haven't been seeing Angelico or Jack Evans on TV much either. We know Jack Evans is in Mexico, but we also know, like, you know, they've been doing recently, very recently, they've been doing Hardy front of Matt Hardy front offices, front Hardy offices, the office towards the front of Hardy, the HFO Hardy front office. They've been doing a lot of those skits. No sign of H2O at all in that situation. You know, we don't see those guys hanging around. I haven't seen Jake Hager really in a while. Luther, Sonny Kiss. Those are a lot of people that you know, you scratch your chin and you go, okay, well, this is, I don't want to say worrisome, but it is something to keep an eye on to see what happens moving forward here. It's funny how a lot of people don't understand the difference between a contract expiring and being terminated from your job. Have you noticed that? I've seen a lot of that. I can explain if you want. Because I've worked on, I have a contract right now. My real job is that this is not a job. This is just pure unadulterated enjoyment. I work on a contract for my job, which technically is renegotiated every year. You know, it sort of rolls through. It's an employment contract. I know that every year I have to basically sit back down and renegotiate it unless the company's like, well, we're bringing this all to an end, you know, but that's fine. And normally they give me some heads up. They're supposed to give me 3 months ahead notice. Like if they're not going to renew the contract, they're supposed to give me three months notice. Why? To start seeking out other opportunities. And that's how it works. You know, I am convinced that, and this is the difference between being fired or losing your job because you're being downsized. You know what downsizing is, right? It's not that, it's your position. The position that you occupy in said company is being eliminated. They're taking it away. It's not just like, oh, we're firing you. It's like, no, if you were the managing director of Obtuse Angles, and the company decides to remove that position within the company, well, you're shit out of luck, kind of thing. So when it comes to these contracts, I'm convinced that there's some sort of proviso within the contract itself with a grace period where, you know, whoever holds the contract has X amount of weeks or X amount of months to tell, you know, the whoever's contracted, hey, you know what, we're not going to renew. Because it's never something that you decide on the flick of a switch. That's not how good business works. You don't do that. It's not like, oh, we're not renewing 2 days before or the day of. It's like, yeah, you know what, I slept on it and we're not going to renew your contract. That's not how it works. So, you know, whether it's Marco, Peter, whoever's contracts are coming up, I am fully, hang on. I am quite sure that they've been made aware that their contracts are not being renewed, which is why they started sending out feelers, which is why they're setting up bookings, because they know that at this point, they're going to stop getting a check from Tony Khan. Although they could become a podcast, a wrestling podcaster or journalist, because that's a really easy way to get a paycheck from Tony Khan, if you know what I'm talking about. Want to say hello to Kristen Ashley, the first lady of the MrWarrenHayes show. Yeah. Hello, Kristen. You arrived at the perfect moment. So circling back, you know, this is, I think, what we need to expect out of AEW, and it's not unlike WWE releasing people after WrestleMania on a yearly basis. That was the kind of thing that would happen. I think we're going to see AEW just cycling out of contracts like this. They're picking up new people because they are releasing X amount, right? So it's freeing up salary base, freeing up spots, whatever you want to call it. But I think that's the cycle that we're going to see. And it's a cycle that is somewhat reminiscent of, you know, how things used to be, where a promoter would hang on to, you know, a handful of top stars, lock those people down into his promotion, and then would cycle talent in and out, either from other promotions, do trade-offs, so on and so forth, just to keep things interesting. And then, you know, maybe hang on to one that he'd try and push and keep into a main event. It makes a lot of sense, you know? I think that we'll see what happens, and I will gladly expand this discourse once we start seeing who's being released, because I think there'll be some very interesting tidbits to glean from all of this. But we'll see when you know, these things become more official or more apparent anyway. I don't know how official AEW is going to be. But there's one thing that I do want to point out here, because there's all sorts of discourses, but there's one that I find, and there's a lot of shitty ones, but there's one that I find particularly weird. There's one that I find particularly weird. One that I find particularly strange. Tony Khan. There is no point in celebrating Tony Khan, AEW, for letting people's contracts run out and saying, good guy, Tony. No, that's weird to me. Why should we be patting him on the back and saying, well, yeah, good job? Why should we be patting anyone on the back for doing something just as normal and natural as, you know, as an employer letting a contract expire or honoring a contract till the very end? Like, that's weird that we're like, is the bar so very low for us that this is the bare minimum to expect? That when a contract is it's like, oh, it's expiring, we should congratulate and say, good guy TK. It's like, no, this is the bare fucking minimum that any company should do, especially a company that's making money, You know, that's one of the things that's why the apples to apples comparison between what WWE does and AEW is doing right now cannot be made. WWE is making billions of dollars and is firing people right and left, ending contracts. That's not cool. But going around and saying, you know, good for Tony for letting the contracts run out. It's like, no, don't celebrate normal behavior. Our standards cannot be this low. We you know, and this is for any type of company, not just in wrestling, like anything at all. It's like they're letting the contracts run out, and they should. You know, instead of firing people, it's, you know, it's wild to me because that means when I think about it, it's like, has it become that low of a bar where this is what we're doing now? We're congratulating people on very fucking normal behavior. I don't understand it. I really don't. There's no back padding on AEW that should be done. It's like, yes, this is what you should be doing. Good for you. Let's just move on. It sucks that some people their contracts won't be renewed, but that's life, and that's what they were expecting. So there you go. Anakin JMT left us another super chat. Thank you very much, Anakin. He says, now that Kristen is here, I'll try again. Oh, he's doing this. He's doing this for you, Kristen. Can we hear Tony D explain how he'll plan to win the Royal Rumble if he shows up in it? Now I understand. Okay, now you really want me to do a Tony D'Angelo impersonation. Okay. All right, here's my Tony D'Angelo impersonation. Gabagool, I am going to enter at the Royal Rumbles. You see, and I am going to push every person over the top rope. Gabagools. I am available for your children's birthday parties to entertain them with such my wide array of characterizations. There are people that I know who watch this show and who live in Chicago. There is no way in hell. Like this was just a whatchamacallit? What's the word I'm looking for? This was a setup. My accent sounds like if Christopher Walken and Andrew Dice Clay had a baby, and I love it. Oh, Jesus. We're having a good time. All right, let's start talking about AEW Rampage. It was not Boris. Well, the character that the voice that I do has a name. There's a name to him. It's not Boris. I can't remember. I'll probably remember like at 2 a.m. and then I'll wake up. I'll be, AEW Rampage. Let's talk about that. AEW back into the swing of things this week after a couple of middling weeks. Couple of shows where I'm sort of like, wasn't that great? Now we're leaning into stuff which is a little more great. First and foremost, I really Sergey was his name. Sergey. See? Oh, thank God I won't have to wake up at 2 a.m. to think about it. Chat seems to enjoy these impersonations for some weird reason. Again, is the bar so low? I thought Rampage last Friday was a lot of fun. I thought it was a lot of fun. Back to that 1 hour of tight, amazing wrestling that just makes Rampage so easy to watch. Let's get into it. Jon Moxley, first match back, taking on Ethan Page. I know a lot of people that, it's slow. I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was good. You know, there's a lot of brawling going on. Page is ready for the match though. Like, he's avoiding a lot of Moxley's offense. Hits a nice brainbuster at some point. There's an avalanche power slam in the match. Mox gets him set up into a crucifix. Hits him with an elbows, a knee. Finishes him off with the bulldog choke. And he runs into Bryan Danielson on the way out. I mean, what more do you want? What more do you want out of this? I like that. Fun little opener. Good to see Mox back. Ethan Page is very, very good at professional wrestling. And I echo all the sentiments that Page and Scorpio Sky should be pushed more. I don't want to say I told you so. I really don't. But the Inner Circle two-time Super America team, top team of America top team, the team on top is America. Whatever Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page are not in a better spot because of that feud. They're exactly in the same place. They haven't budged. There hasn't been any improvement. It's just there. That feud served Chris Jericho and Dan Lambert, and that's pretty much it. And I told you guys, I'm worried about Page and Sky in this feud. And look at where we are. And as far as the Inner Circle guys go, well, I mean, Sammy's doing fine, but Sammy was TNT champion during all of this, and he was an afterthought in the feud. It really was all about Chris Jericho trying to get his jokes off. Then we had, what a great match this was. I had a blast watching. I was so bummed when Rocky Romero had to pull himself from the tag team match that they had planned. Roppongi Vice, Trent and him versus the Young Bucks. I was really looking forward to that. I was super bummed. Instead, we got Trent versus Nick Jackson, which was fantastic. Nick Jackson is as everyone knows by now, is the better brother. That's just facts. You know, Matt may be a little more charismatic, might be more natural on the microphone, has, those entertaining vibes about him, very expressive, emotes, so on and so forth. But the all-around best wrestler between the Jacksons is Nick. And showed it off again with Trent here, as they had a good old-fashioned New Japan Juniors match. And Trent looks he don't look like no junior, I know, anymore. Trent does an overhead release Northern Light suplex and then hits a proper Northern Light suplex on top of that. He spears Jackson on the floor. Just a fantastic spear on top of that. Backdrop driver, tornado DDT. There's a top rope destroyer in this match. Get a top rope senton onto the ramp by Nick Jackson, which was great. But it's a strong zero that puts it away for Trent. Great, fun, little match. Super entertaining, dynamic, excellent, good stuff. You're like, yeah, there's stuff going on. Talented wrestlers, animosity, like all the elements are there. I don't know what you want more out of your pro wrestling than this. It doesn't have to be 5-star classics all the time. Give me two talented wrestlers who just have a modicum of a reason to fight each other, and it doesn't, just a basic reason. We don't like each other. Fantastic, go ahead. Give them, what was it, like 13 minutes? They went 13 minutes on this one. What are you talking about? What more do you want? I don't know. I don't, if this match did not satisfy you in any way, and I'm not saying, well, I refuse to put this in my notebook of high-flying matches of the year. No, that's not what I'm saying. You just sit down, you watch this match, you're like, I'm entertained. This was entertaining. This was good. We found out that Hook hates streamers in this episode of Rampage as well. As he squished Serpentico. Tazplex chokes him out with the Taz mission. I'm honoring I'm honoring his father. I'm still calling it the Tazplex, and I'm still calling it the Taz mission, because you know what? That's how I grew up. That's how I came in. That's how I found out about great wrestling. No, I don't know. I don't have a particular reason. Other than, when you see the movie, you're like, that's a Taz mission. Like, eventually I'll probably just grow into calling it, a Hookplex, I think he calls it. Anyway, it's good stuff. And then the main event was Jade Cargill with her first TBS title defense against Anna Jay. And I, straight out off the gate, I'm going to tell you, no questions asked. Even if you ask me, I'm still going to say it anyway. But if you ask me, I'm going to say it because you asked me to say it. Jade Cargill's best match in AEW so far against Anna Jay on Friday. Great stuff. I was worried. I was a little worried because I was thinking about the composition of this match, and I was like, look, Jade has fought much more experienced wrestlers than Anna Jay, like Ruby, like Thunder Rosa, and nothing quite as and she, I don't think she had particularly strong showings. I really didn't think Jade had a strong TBS tournament. So I was a little worried going in with Anna Jay, but you know what? Look, I wrote a lot of notes. Look at all the notes I wrote just on this match. It was a good match. Starts off with a great shoulder block from Jade. I mean, when Jade decides to get nitty gritty, right? And just using her strength, because that's the thing, right? Jade Cargill needs to use her strength. When she does, she looks fantastic. And and Anna Jay is no slouch in here. They're going strong on each other early in this match here. There's, the great spot because, of course, Jade Cargill is accompanied to the ring by Mark Sterling, and Anna Jay was accompanied by John Silver, who gets in a pose off with Jade, which I thought was fantastic. Jade gets railroaded by Anna. There's an overhead suplex by Jade also. Anna follows up with a kick and a flatliner. Brainbuster and Silver Brainbusters Mark Sterling on the floor, which was great. We get the bitchsicle kick. That's right. That's what we're calling it. I'm telling you. I'm going to keep putting it out there until Jade starts using the bitchsicle kick. That's what it should be called. It's a bit of a tongue twister. I'd like to see Excalibur push that one out once in a while. And Taz too. Anna rolls out of Jade's finisher and into the Queen Slayer, but Jade powers out of it. Jade blocks Anna Jay's kick in the corner, gives her a kiss, and then lifts her into a slam. Look, this was really good. I have nothing bad to say about this match. Strong first defense for Jade Cargill, which a lot of people were sitting back into their chairs, right? Doing one of these, and going, we are waiting for Miss Cargill to defend her match so we can write about it on the internet. And it was good. There's nothing they could do. Honestly, just bad faith. Again, I'm not trying to tell you guys, this is, Utami and Shiri going ballistic on each other. Of course not. But this was a very strong women's match. Awesome stuff. I loved it. I thought it was very good. And Jade is on an upward trajectory. And I'm happy. I'm happy because I've wanted Jade to succeed. I want her to succeed. She's looking good. Title suits her. She's $1 million. Not $1 million Jacksons. I mean, like dollars. Thank you all so much for being here. If you're enjoying this so far, leave a like on the video if you haven't already. And if you try liking it twice or 3 times, don't. I don't know what I'm talking about. AEW Dynamite now. Let's start talking about it. Look. Let's just go right ahead and say it. This was a very good episode of Dynamite, and look at why. Look at one of the reasons this was a very good episode of Dynamite. And I want you to think, chat, everyone listening live right now, everyone listening on demand, take a minute. If I tell you, if we're like, look, we have a consensus, Beach Break, AEW Dynamite, January 26th, 2022, was a very, very good professional wrestling show. Tell me what was one of the key components for this? Do you believe? Why do you think it was such a good show? Is it perhaps maybe because it started with a match? It started with a hot match like most really good Dynamites do? Like most Dynamites do. Past couple of weeks, I'm like, middling, blah, blah, blah. We're starting off with promos, and I told you the Moxley promo last week. I'm okay with it. That was fine, and it was perfect placement. I wouldn't have done it any other way. But look at that! Straight out the gate, we get the ladders set up. We don't even get the introductions. You had to go on YouTube if you wanted to see. Fucking Cody Rhodes, spend $10,000 worth of pyro to walk to the ring, right? This was great. It was the ladder match for the unification of the TNT titles. Now I'll wait till the end. This was fantastic. It ruled. As far as the ladder match goes, it's a top one. It's good. This is one that can stay imprinted in your brain because it was about the crazy spots. And it was about Sammy Guevara hitting the crazy spots. They brawl into the audience so early, that Sammy does a bit of an awkward springboard cutter off the rail into the audience, but you're like, okay, I see where you guys want to go with this. You don't want to play it safe. You don't want to give us necessarily a PG thing. Like, you're okay. We're ready to go. We're warming up. We're good to go. Let's do this. Sammy and Cody. Look, they just go all over the place. But there's so many ladder spots. This is what was fantastic. We get a superplex off the ladder, and the fucking tall one too, right? And I'm like, this is nuts. Like, even right there, I'm like, whoa. Can it get any wilder? Oh, Cody turns a ladder upside down, right? So it's in a V position. And he just grabs Sammy and just body slams him into the V. The whole thing goes, ah! Looked like it hurt as hell. Like Mick Foley said once. If it looks like it hurt, it did. Cody does a figure 4 using the rungs of the ladder, which was a great visual. And then the spot of the night, right? The thing. Cody's climbing up the ladder to get to the belts. Sammy's on the other ladder, and he just leaps off the ladder, grabs Cody, hits a cutter all the way down. Just brilliant. Beautifully executed. Well hit. Just excellent stuff. There's a crossroads off the ladder. Fuego del Sol gets involved because he's trying to get Cody to stop beating up, so savagely on Sammy. And he gets Tiger Drivered for his business. But Sammy then gets back into the ring, tosses Cody onto the floor, hits a corkscrew dive and a GTH on the floor. He lays Cody, he sets up a ladder against the barricade and the ring, and he lays Cody on the ladder. Our boy Sammy climbs to the top rope, top of another ladder, sentons off of it onto Cody. The ladder doesn't budge. We had some New Japan table level ladders. That's what we had. And they're both up on the ladders, and Sammy just decks Cody off the ladder to grab both the belts and win. Fantastic stuff. Yes, it was spots. What do you want in a ladder match? Because this is one of the criticisms I heard. Like, oh, it was all spoots. It's a ladder match. It's what you expect. It's weird to me. These kinds of, it's like, there was thumbtacks in the match. It's a death match, kind of thing. I thought it was great. An amazing time was had by all in this match. I really do believe that. Except people who were like, well, why did Cody win the title in the first place? Look, does it matter at this stage? Because here's you can wonder about booking decisions and so on and so forth, and that's fine. But at this point, if this didn't help cement Sammy Guevara as a top tier talent in that company, if this title defense didn't make it happen, title reunification, him winning his title back, essentially, if this didn't solidify him as a top guy, I do not know what else you can. I do not know what I can tell you to convince you that this was probably a good way to go booking. Sure, there was COVID and that did a bit of a swerve, right? Or medical reasons for Cody. I don't like that. There's probably some wrenches that were thrown in this booking, but the point is, we get to this point and nothing is stagnating. I am convinced that everyone who bitched about Cody, why did Cody win the title in the first place if we're just going to drop it back to Sammy? Anyone who was bitching about that would have bitched if Cody had won and retained the title. Of course, Cody. And I'm really, really sick of the phony Cody Rhodes discourse. If you want to get on Cody's case, like, look, he gets on my nerves. His promos are self-righteous. Whatever. I don't think he really has wrestling in his blood anymore. So on and so on. Whatever. But if there's one thing that I don't think anyone can support properly anymore without being in bad faith. I don't think anyone can sit here and say Cody Rhodes buries people, only puts himself over, doesn't, like, there are too many facts, way too many facts moving forward to be like, oh no, Cody's only out for himself. It's his company. Like, of course, let himself book himself as a top guy. But look, Darby Allin was elevated because of Cody Rhodes. I will still maintain that Brody Lee was made on that night because of Cody Rhodes. Malachi Black was made because of Cody Rhodes. Ricky Starks, Eddie Kingston, they were given jobs off of matches with Cody Rhodes. And I tweeted it out last night. And much respect to whoever whoever said this, because I understand, but it's like when all you have left is, well, I mean, he did no-sell El Gogo's move that one time. You're like, all right, well, you're just focused on the negatives here. And again, there's plenty of negative to focus on when it comes to Cody, but it is impossible to sit with a straight face and say Cody has been burying people in AEW. It's all been about him. He doesn't care about anyone else. He only cares about elevating himself, not making any stuff. It is wrong and in bad faith. Too many facts. Besides, Cody's a free agent, right? We've heard about this and he doubled down on it, right? He said, oh no, the reports are wrong. I'm working on a handshake. Oh, that's why he dropped the title. You don't put your title on someone who's leaving your promotion. I still don't buy it. Look, if it looks like a work and it smells like a work and it tastes like a work, brother, it's probably a work. I don't buy it. I like what he's doing though. Just getting people talking, getting them, a little flustered maybe. Going out there saying, oh no, this is all rumors, it's such a wild week in wrestling that happened, and I'm on a handshake. Like, fuck off. I really don't buy it. And that's okay. And you know what? Here's the thing, because it happened to me this weekend with Nick Gage. If he is working without a contract and he starts showing up and doing all sorts of weird, whatever, or signs another place, I'll admit it. I got worked and I'll be happy. I like getting worked. If you can work me, mission accomplished. That's all I want. Make me believe. Cool. I still don't think he's showing up at the Royal Rumble this weekend. I mean, I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Cody suddenly starts appearing on the indies, starts doing indie dates. Wouldn't be shocked. Under this premise that he doesn't have a contract, which is, it's a good gimmick. It's a fun thing to say. But, AEW lets their talent go off and work independence. It wouldn't be that big of a stretch. Anyway, Cody lost the title because he doesn't have a contract. That's why he lost the title. That's what put it back on Sammy. Why? Well, because the current champion's on his way out. You don't want CM Punk walking out with the belt. You don't want Medusa walking out with the title and dumping it in a trash can. What else did we have? Oh, we had a fun little 2-on-1 handicap match. Wardlow squashing Elijah Dean and James Alexander in his hometown. On top of that, big reaction for Wardlow. The symphony of power bombs continues. And you got to appreciate, it was his hometown. And look at what they did. Wardlow came out and was like, Spears, you stay the fuck out of here. You stay right there while I go do my thing. And that was booked to just like, look, let's get Wardlow, no shenanigans, just have him have the great moment in front of his hometown crowd, and great stuff. I love it. That nice little touch there. El Gato Pollo Loco, welcome to the chat. We had the Inner Circle. Chris Jericho, Santana and Ortiz defeating 2.0 and Daniel Garcia. Yeah, there wasn't much to this really outside of the angle that they're really creating, that Santana and Ortiz are done with Jericho's bullshit. And because they were basically wrestling, they being Santana and Ortiz, they were basically in a tag team match. They were tagging themselves in and out of the match all the time until Jericho hits an impromptu Judas effect to get the win for the team. Jericho was like, okay, so there's friction. Just do away with the Inner Circle. Just we're good. I think I feel like there's a consensus around this. I'm glad that they're still going forward with it. I'm glad they're still going forward with giving Santana and Ortiz more air, despite Eddie Kingston not being in the picture right now. That's something I was a little afraid of. This was all about the angle. It was fine. Like, there's nothing that stood out here, but I'm excited at the prospect of Santana and Ortiz chains off, just going crazy and destroying everyone in the tag division. CM Punk came to the ring, starts by cutting the promo. He's in his gear, it's a bit of a, nothing we've never heard before. Hey, Maxwell, come out and fight me. I'm in my gear kind of thing, but you'll be in your cheap suits, all that stuff. MJF comes out and goes, he sets up the match for next week. MJF versus CM Punk next week after, of course, trashing Cleveland, trashing Chicago. But then MJF goes off. He starts to claim that once Punk loses next week, he's going to leave AEW, just like he did in WWE years ago when he couldn't get what he wanted. I'm like, oh. CM Punk, those CM Punk chants won't stop him from turning his back on all you fans again and then go to cry about it on a podcast. He even brings up the lawsuit. I'm like, CM Punk says the best thing he ever did in wrestling was leave. No, sorry. He says the best thing he could have ever done was leave. And then the best thing he ever did was come back. That's what he said. That's pretty cool. And he stands by all his decisions, and people don't love him because he wins. They love him because he gets back up and fights. A lot of, I like that they're sort of touching into CM Punk's, past reputation, right? Which still looms large over him. I enjoy this, and I like how it gets a little. You can almost tell that it just eats at Phil when he gets barbed like that. I'm sure they've all talked about this and was, should we do this? And that's fine. But you can tell it sort of eats at him. Anyway, this all comes to this great, good promo segment becomes even greater because then the Pinnacle come out and they pot shot CM Punk, numbers game all over him. Wardlow power bombs him. Great setup for next week. I'm kind of surprised that they're doing this on Dynamite, but the question is, will we be getting the match? And that's what I'm not sure of. I don't think we'll be getting the match. Feels too much like a Revolution match, really. And we're just a couple of weeks out at this point. 4 weeks. Got to start building that puppy. Layla Hirsch defeated Red Velvet. This was fine. Just I thought it was a nice, solid little match that they had. Nothing to write home about. Like nothing absolutely mind-boggling. But there was some good stuff. Like early on, they started striking at each other with open palm strikes, and I was like, wow. This is something I'd like to see Red Velvet grow into more, like, really leaning into a big striking game. I think that'd be fun. We'll see what happens, as far as it goes. But I enjoyed that exchange, as brief as it was. Layla hits a wheelbarrow German at some point, which was really good. Red Velvet does a diving stunner and double kicks to the back. And Layla's just on top of her game here, countering kicks, all right and left. It was good stuff. And Layla, that's how she ends the match. Actually, counters the kick, and sets up a roll up for the win. After the match, she clasps an armbar on Red Velvet. Statlander comes in to chase her away. It's good stuff. Again, nothing to write home about, but good enough stuff. Anakin JMT left us a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, I almost expected Colt Cabana to come out, like during the CM Punk promo. That would have been unique. I still don't quite understand how that happens in that work environment. Like I'm still not quite sure how that relationship goes. It's a little weird to me. Want to say hello to Pluggo? Welcome to the chat, Pluggo. Britt Baker has a promo. She's in the ring with all her accomplishments from those sellouts at Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Those paid shills at Pro Wrestling Illustrated. She has all her awards. She has an award that she also won from Inside the Ropes as well. With all her accomplishments, it's basically a I'm better than you promo. Felt a little bit out of nowhere, but you know what? You're also like, hey, okay, yeah, she is the champ. She hasn't had real mic time for a couple of weeks. Ooh, why not just lean into it? Let's do it, kind of thing. I thought it was fine. And that DGMC left us a super chat. Thank you very much. DGMC says, I mean, MJF is Colt Cabana's shoot son. Don't know what he was shooting. Thank you very much for the super chat. And then that leads us to the lights out match. Adam Cole versus Orange Cassidy. This is a very divisive match. Curious. I think I get it. I think I understand why this is a little that this is a little divisive. Because of how it was put together. And look, I think the previous lights out matches that AEW has given us were very brutal, felt very, very real, very hardcore. This was a good plunder match, but I think it lacked a second gear. I think that's ultimately what the problem was with this match. It lacked a next level kind of thing. And I know a lot of people were disappointed that, well, why aren't they bleeding? Ohio is a no blood state. They forbid the use of tools, implementations for voluntary drawing of blood in these types of matches. So it's like, so there was nothing really rough that they could do here. But I mean, I think the first half of this match is really good. And I think that there's a bit of stuff that fell off on the second half, but not dramatically. Nothing that'd be like, this sucked. But instead of going like this, the match sort of went kind of thing. But I like that they went right for it. Like Orange Cassidy was like, he was all business, right? He crushed his glasses and just like, let's do it. They fight on the floor, of course. Adam Cole tries to get a chair from under the ring, and he's struggling to pull it out. Now the question is, why? Why is Adam Cole having trouble putting a ladder out from under the ring? Is it because Swoggle is there? No, thank God. It was Danhausen finally showing up on AEW television, doing one of these to Adam Cole, and the crowd just explodes. Huge reaction. I'm sorry to say, to anyone who's like, I don't know who, anyone who doesn't watch AEW and was like, no one knows who this guy is. This crowd knew who he was. He got a huge reaction, and I'm very, very happy to find out that AEW is very nice, very evil moving forward. It's a good signing. And it's been working. They've been working it for a while. Just fantastic stuff. Anyway, we get all sorts of plunder in this match. Plunder, chairs, extinguishers, chains. The factions come out to brawl. We discover in this match that Orange Cassidy owns a bejeweled cod piece. He hits the Panama Sunrise on Cole. They fight backstage. They fuck up gorilla position, which they call the go position. Jim Ross was very specific, as we call it the go position here. Back on stage, Cole goes for the last shot, but runs into a super kick. He uses a spotlight on Orange Cassidy, which ruled, like one of these big spotlights, and just cracked. There was a great visual. Adam Cole climbs up the rigging. Doesn't realize Orange Cassidy is climbing up behind him, sneaks up behind him. Orange Cassidy sort of hugs him. And he throws himself off throws both guys off the rigging through the stage. And Cassidy lands on top of Adam Cole to win 1, 2, 3. Adam Cole's first loss since joining AEW. Unless it's not official. And honestly, who cares? It's good heel fodder at this point. It's good for Adam Cole. He'll be able to just be like, bitch about it and whatever. It's good stuff. Very, very good. Very good until, I don't know, like the last half of the match. I don't know. But good effort. Definitely not on the level of the lights out matches that AEW has made us expect. I think, like, what are the lights out matches that they've had that come to mind right now? Of course, Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. We had Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley. I feel we had one with Pac. I think this is the third or the fourth, something like that. I'm sure someone in chat will be like, Warren, you forgot this one. Not that my chat talks like that, but that's how I feel attacked. And when I feel attacked, that's how I react. Yeah, I sort of feel definitely not up there. A fine match. It was all right. Good effort. Nothing wrong with it per se. But definitely a very, very, very fun Dynamite that we got. Ella J is here in the chat. Nice to see you, Ella. Welcome to the chat. I do appreciate you being here. That was all of our thoughts. When I say our, I mean my thoughts on AEW. Yes, Moxley Brody. You're right. Was it a lights out? I don't remember. That was for because it was for the title. I don't remember. Like, honestly, I don't remember. And Anakin left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Anakin. He says, I don't think Cole hurts in losing, but was surprised they have him lose, assuming he gets Hangman at Revolution. His record isn't hurt, but his aura. Losing a weirdo match? His aura? I think we're overthinking this a little bit. It's not back to catering with you, Adam Cole. And I mean, this is what we're assuming, right? I mean, we're assuming that Adam Cole is getting Page at Revolution. So, I wouldn't put too much stock into this. I really wouldn't. I know a lot of people got really, really excited. He lost the match. He's not going to be a contender. They've got plenty of time to build him back up. It's still like 4 weeks. I wouldn't read too much into it. I really don't. Because that's the things, like, Adam Cole has not had a single championship match since coming into AEW, right? And yet he's a star. And I think he will continue to be viewed as a star. Because if he's treated like one, that's how it's going to happen. Look how long it took Jungle Boy to get a title. Or even get some serious wins going for him. And he's always been super over. Anyway. I'm not worried. I'm not worried about that. Hey, did you hear the news? What a weird question to ask. Thank you all, by the way, for joining me live here right now. If you're listening to this on demand, thank you again if you're still around. Do consider giving a like if you're on YouTube. A subscription would be nice as well. And I always like to think that I work for him, so let me work for it. And then I'll earn it, and I'll be happy. Some good reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can leave some 5-star reviews there too. That's always great. I'm going to say hi to Conrad from Everything Pro Wrestling. How you doing, Conrad? Thank you for being here. So yeah. Ronda Rousey, if you hadn't heard, is being eyeballed by the World Wrestling Entertainment Company to return to the WWE for the first time since WrestleMania 35. So it was reported earlier this week on was Fightful reported it that Ronda Rousey is being her return is being discussed internally, and apparently it's a quote unquote poorly kept secret within the company. Then Brian Alvarez popped in here. Look, everyone's reporting that Ronda Rousey her name has been attached to this year's Royal Rumble, although her participation is currently unknown. Fightful also reported that Rousey has been training as of late, and those within WWE think that it's not a matter of if, but of when Ronda makes a return to the company. Is anyone shocked? I'm not shocked. I don't think there's anything to be surprised at. It's been a while. I think it's been a time coming for Ronda to make a return back. Look, here's the thing. Ronda is effectively she's a Brock Lesnar for the women. Which is like you have this big time media crossover, sports crossover, combat sports crossover star that you can pull out of the mothballs, shake some money at, why don't you come do X amount of matches, shake some money at, and says, okay, let's do it. Right? And that's fine. And that's fine. And this is going to be WWE's thing moving forward, because we know they're incapable of building new stars, so all they can do is use either stars of the past or stars that aren't even theirs. WWE didn't create Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey created herself. So, like, I'm not shocked. And besides, like, what other women, like there's still, like, what, 11 spots open in the Royal Rumble? What, they're going to put Tiffany Stratton in there? Is that what they're going to do? I mean, I could see them putting Mandy Rose. That's fine. You know, Mandy has tenure on this, on the main roster as well. But who are they pulling up from? Io? Dakota? Raquel? Maybe Toxic Attraction, all three of them? And then who? Wendy Chu? Never mind. Stop cursing this with the Santina Marella talk, okay? Stop it. Is Alexa going to do a Three Faces of Foley thing? Look, of course, this will go against the predictions that I made on my Royal Rumble prediction show. Because we hadn't heard at that point that Ronda Rousey was being eyeballed to return. That being said, if Ronda does come back at the Royal Rumble, she comes in like at number 30 and she cleans house and she wins. Right? That's what you do if you're WWE. Now, if you're Warren Hayes booking this, she doesn't need to be attached to a title. Right? She doesn't need to be attached to a title to go to come into the company and have an impact. The match that everyone wants, I guess, is Ronda versus Becky, the singles match. And especially with the roles reversed, where Becky is supposed to be a heel and Ronda can then come back as a babyface and not get mad that people are booing her. You know? Sorry. I popped myself on that one. So basically, if Warren Hayes is booking this, Ronda comes back and it's not for the title. And she goes and she fights Becky. And in the meantime, you work at elevating someone else in the environment of World Wrestling Entertainment. You give them the title. And then you have another big time women's feud. You can have potentially 3. The SmackDown title, the Raw title, Ronda Becky. Right? But no, that's not what they're going to do. They're going to do like exactly. It's like Brock. Brock doesn't need to be in any title pictures either for people to be interested. Really, you don't. You just need to make good use of the people that you have already. You know, put them up there. Why not have Bianca and Ronda have a go? There's one that wasn't around when Bianca was when Ronda was there, right? There's a fresh match straight out the gate. I find Royal Rumble's just got a little spicier, just a little more spice to it. Still excited to see what's going to happen. We also got news, like some real news, like some actual, tangible, real news. WWE and Disney sign a deal to stream WWE Network in Indonesia. Reading this off of the Wrestling Observer website. An interesting deal between two household name brands, Disney and WWE, have come to an agreement to stream WWE Network in Indonesia as part of the Disney Plus Hotstar service. The deal begins this Saturday with the Royal Rumble. All WWE live events will be made available in both English and Bahasa Indonesia languages with a standard Disney Plus Hotstar subscription. Disney Plus is added as a Hotstar is essentially a provider, and Disney Plus is included in Hotstar as an add-on, a premium, whatever you want to call it. Financial terms were not disclosed, but this is the first such streaming agreement between Disney and WWE. So this is the beginning, right, of something that a lot of people are sort of pointing out and going, this is inevitable. This is what's going to happen. This is what WWE's been talking about regardless, right? Being bought out, Disney, so on and so forth. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, here we go. The sale is inevitable. No. I'm not, this is not any signs that point to that. But it does show that there is a clear and open line of communication that exists between WWE and Disney at this point. And that'll be very interesting to see how things go moving forward. There's always the speculation of the sale. I know Nick Khan he gave an interview earlier this week saying that we are not actively looking to, we are not actively on the market to be sold or something. But the key word was actively. Actively. Let me pull it out here. I just want to make sure I get the right quote. But the key word really is actively. Yeah, there you go. Nick Khan says WWE isn't actively looking to sell. Okay? And I know a lot of people say, hey, they're not going to sell. A guy like Nick Khan chooses his words. He doesn't go out and say bullshit, willy-nilly, right and left. We're not actively looking to sell. But doesn't mean that, we can't entertain offers, And he said it himself, like, well, we're getting calls. We're getting people who are calling us. So they're not. And besides, I don't think, I could be wrong, but it seems to me like in the history of companies wanting to sell, I don't think going out and saying we want to be purchased by some other company, I don't think that's good for stock prices. Like, I don't think it's good for business to go out and just flat out say, hey, yeah, we're looking to be bought. I don't think that's good. I think it's an ill-advised tactic. So it's very interesting. But here's the thing. This is the interesting part. There's a very, very interesting part that was pulled up from a Deadline article that covered the agreement news here. The companies are understood. This is the quote from Deadline here. The companies are understood to have had preliminary discussions for other territories as Disney continues to look to achieve its 2024 goal of between 300 to 350 million worldwide subscribers. Now this is interesting because this is clearly the path they want to take, they being WWE. This is the path they want to take to divest themselves of whatever's left of the network in countries like Canada and others in Europe and so on and so forth. Because I still have the network. I still have the OG network right here through my cable box. So if the idea is to push this partnership into other territories using already established streaming services like Disney Plus, but maybe they're open to other partners in other parts of the world, because international distribution rights are such a complex mess. Trust me. It's so complicated. So maybe Disney Plus for some major markets, maybe someone else. So this, to me, is the signal of the death knell for the WWE Network everywhere else. I'm pretty sure that this is where we're going to start seeing the WWE Network be included into streaming packages, whatever, maybe close affiliations with streaming services that can deliver the product, deliver the content, without WWE having to continue to invest in maintaining the WWE Network for whatever subscribers aren't in the United States. So that's what I found most interesting out of this news so far. Because of course it's interesting that they have, a direct line of communication, a clear and open, unquestionable line of communication with Disney. Relationships can go sour just about at any moment, especially when you consider the amount of egos involved, But yeah, I mean, interesting that they set this up now. Royal Rumble just this Saturday, right off the bat. We're heading into WrestleMania season. Maybe they won't set up another big partnership until next WrestleMania season. I don't know. But clearly WrestleMania season has to have an impact on subscriptions. It has to. Very interesting news. More interesting news that occurred last 3 days ago. January 24th came out that New Japan Pro Wrestling was canceled the remainder of their January events due to COVID-19 protocols. Again, off of The Observer, the company announced on their website this morning that due to wrestlers, quote, presenting elevated temperatures or being in close contact with same, unquote, the company will cancel the remainder of their tour this month and will resume with live touring on February 6th in Chiba. All ticket holders for these events will be refunded. The cancellations take place after 6 New Japan Pro Wrestling wrestlers missed 3 consecutive dates during the Golden Series tour that started this week. Toru Yano, Hanma, Minoru Suzuki, Tai Chi, Tachi Michinoku, and Satoshi Kojima were among those pulled from the show. Their last event was on January 22nd. So I read that and my heart sunk. It's like, cursed, a pox on New Japan. They're back again, canceling shows. And there was a little discussion in the Discord over this. Did I plug the Discord? Did I join the Discord? Link is in the description. There was a little discussion around that, and a couple of chaps in the chat were saying, at least it's just the Road 2 shows, not like the big events. But this is, I think we have to take this in the context of how miserable a year 2021 was for New Japan, and the number of shows that they had to cancel because of COVID protocols, the number of shows that had to be dealt with because their top stars were disappearing because of COVID. Look at what's happening again. We are back at the spot once again with New Japan canceling shows because talent are getting sick. You're like, I think I've been harping on this for 3-4 weeks at this point. I am looking forward to New Japan's 2021 financial report because I think it's going to be dismal. I think it's not going to be good. There have been multiple reports that New Japan talent are taking pay cuts. Not everyone, but I think everyone whose contract is being renewed, like a 10 to 15 cut, something like that, 10 to 15%. Tetsuya Naito was going around saying 25%, but Tetsuya Naito wouldn't take a 25% salary cut and go out and smile about it. Come on now. Be like, I'm out of here. Go work for Noah. In all seriousness though, this does not bode well. And even if it's not important shows that were canceled, this is a problem for New Japan if it continues having to cancel shows. They have not been able to run full gates for the entirety of 2021, for most of 2020 as well. That's why they were running the fucking Tokyo Dome in the middle of summer with a 25% capacity crowd, because it was just a bigger venue that they could fill up to sell more tickets. But ultimately the place is empty, but they could sell more tickets because there was more seating space for people at the Tokyo Dome. It's not a good situation. And I look at this and I'm like, this is not a good sign either. Coronavirus is not the situation is far from being under control in Japan. So if we're still in this position where things are still out of control, New Japan is canceling shows, I'm getting a little nervous. I'm getting a little antsy. Again, but people, but they will be running full shows soon. Apparently that's what they would. And the government can pull the plug on that at any moment. And their talent can still get sick. They got 6 people who got sick and were pulled from the shows. And they canceled a whole series, a full week of shows. Yes, they're being, it's precautions. I get it. I understand, and it's good. It's good that they're not just sending their talent out sick or, risking infecting more people. I appreciate all of that. But like, you can't sit here and be like, and not kind of see this as a bad omen for 2021 regarding New Japan Pro Wrestling. It could be very problematic for them moving forward. Very, very, very problematic. And I hope not. Don't want New Japan to fail. What are you talking about? Should we talk about the independents a bit? Last Friday, January 21st, AC Mack defeated Alex Shelley at a joint action IWTV Southeast First event to become the new Independent Wrestling World Champion. Now, why is this of note? First, most importantly, maybe not most importantly, but let's say first and foremost, AC Mack, Alex Shelley, January 21st, go watch the match. This is MrWarrenHayes saying, whatever you're doing, stop, scribble it into your calendar, put a post-it note on the fridge. You have to make time to watch this match. It's an early one for a match of the year, and I wouldn't be mad if anyone added this to their lists on the end of the year. This was extremely good. A fantastic match that you really should go out of your way to watch. Mack looked like $1 million. And Alex Shelley, AC Mack was in his environment. He was the absolute overall babyface. Alex Shelley was like, okay, I'm the heel, and he played it up, and he made AC Mack look like $1,000,000. He just played the part to make AC Mack come across as the tippy top guy. So that was fantastic. Very, very important milestone here as well. The IWD, the Independent Wrestling TV, the Independent Wrestling title is a recognized world title championship. So that makes AC Mack the first openly gay world champion. And that's pretty damn dope. And it's also pretty goddamn motherfucking time too. Good for him. And the little thing here, the little sprinkle of greatness here is in his post-match promo. He basically starts name dropping all the promotions that he could potentially work with, that people always tell him, you need to do this and to make it in the business. He says you need to go up north. You have to go to Beyond. You have to go to Chicago. You have to go to Limitless. You got to go to AEW. He says, but y'all put too much miles on my card. And he basically said to Drew Cordero, who's the owner, booker of he called him out. He said, Drew, he's the booker of Beyond. Says, if anyone wants a shot, they have to go south. They have to come to me. This title is being, did he say hijacked? But it's only going to be defended in the South. The South is first. And Drew reacted on Twitter, this took offense and so on and so forth. The territories are back, baby. They're back. You got AC Mack talking shit about all these other promotions. And like, no, this is my region. You're going to have to cross the Mason-Dixon line if you want to get a shot at this title. The territories are back, man. AC Mack in one night brought it back. Because he got Beyond is like, Look, again, my spidey senses are tingling. I think we're going to get some nice big ol' inter-promotional matches here, which I'm absolutely down for. I think it'll be great. But I think it's even greater that we're sitting here, that I was sitting on my couch watching AC Mack, listening to his post-match promo, and him going, I know y'all have to come to the South, and being very protective of his. I loved it. And then he starts, and you're not going to drive me, you're going to fly me out there. And you're going to use Delta because their headquarters are in Atlanta. And I'm like, oh, that sucks, because Delta kind of sucks. Great stuff, though. But I'm not kidding. And if you want to see a guy like super over, just balls to the wall, out of control over, this is what you do. This is what you get. This is what that's what you get. That's what you get. That's what you need to do. You need to watch it. And then the other big event for the independent scene this weekend, of course, was GCW The Wrld, or The Wrld on GCW. I've talked about it a couple of times here on the podcast. It was the buzz. All the buzz was there. GCW putting out its big Hammerstein, ballroom show with everything that legacy implies, and so on and so forth. And I think overall the reaction is extremely mixed. I feel like this is the onus. This is what we need to glean from the situation. GCW The Wrld, mixed bag, for good and ill. If this was anyone's first GCW show, I can't say that I wouldn't blame them if they turned around and was like, I don't understand what all the buzz is about with this promotion. I wouldn't blame them. it kind of made, having watched GCW matches in the past, GCW cards is what I'm talking about. Excuse me. Having watched, there's hits and there's misses. There's cards that are spectacular from top to bottom. Others are just like, well, what exactly is going on? All over the place kind of thing. And this felt like one of these GCW cards where everything is all over the place and where's the direction? And I'm not going to lie, I thought it was weird that we were getting this on arguably the biggest show they've ever put on. The show that Fight TV came out and said it was GCW's most ordered pay-per-view event in the history of the company. So there were people, it's fair to assume that there were people watching GCW for the first time on that card because it was so hyped to be something special. And I think it just, it didn't hit the mark. Let me break down the card a little bit. On the pre-show, we had Big Vin winning the Pabst Blue Ribbon Kickoff Battle Royal. This was a mess. It was a mess. Surprise entrance, we had Lufisto. Oh, well, here's something I should underscore beforehand, though. On the previous night, they had GCW was holding the inaugural Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony, where they inducted Ruckus, Tracy Smothers, Lufisto. I'm drawing a blank. Homicide, Jerry Lynn, and I feel like I'm missing someone. A moment for her. Oh, right, and they had Dave Prazak. There we go. That's who I was forgetting. Dave Prazak was also, because CM Punk inducted Dave Prazak. So it was an absolute, just to see Lufisto there with her, having the time to tell her story, to tell her tale, one that gets overlooked, but is so important to how women in wrestling, how the perception of women in wrestling has evolved, and everything she's done for equality in wrestling, not just women's wrestling, but equality. It's something that gets overlooked quite a bit because, Lufisto was never in one of the big promotions. So I keep telling you guys, you can't let the history of wrestling be controlled by a company. You just can't. It's much larger than that. It's very important, but I'm not going to get on that rant right now. So I thought the Hall of Fame was a lovely event. Felt like everyone there was deserving. It was good. Some good induction speeches. I liked it. So that's why Lufisto showed up the next night for the Battle Royal. Was nice to see her in there, but she and Rosa got tossed up. Look, Big Vin won. So if Big Vin won, that should be your indication as to what kind of match this was. And then the other match on the pre-show card was a 6-way scramble, which was pretty good. Shout out to Dante Leon. Did some fantastic corkscrew cutters on this one here, but that was very good. Anakin JMT left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Anakin. I appreciate it. He said, only seen the ladder match, but it was interesting to say the least. Only seen ladder match, but it was interesting to say the least, comparing that match to the one we got on Sunday. Oh, yeah. Did like how ladders looked like normal ladders you'd get at those. And hashtag DGMC is a coward. Yes, because they all looked like just rinky-dink ladders that you could. And you say at Lowe's, Walmart. It's like made in a part of the world that don't understand ladders, that don't use ladders like for, you know what I mean? It's like just slap the lightest aluminum together, right? Thank you very much for the super chat, Anakin. And DGMC left us a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, let's talk about Punk's Homicide impression, LMAO. Yes, it was very good. I can do an impression of Homicide as well, too, if you want. I can do an impression of Homicide. This is how it goes. Lariat. Lariat. Thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you everyone for the super chats tonight. I appreciate it. Let's get to the main card here. We had the first match was a grab the brass ring ladder match. PCO, Alex Colon, G Raver, Tony Deppen, Jimmy Lloyd, and Jordan Oliver were all defeated by AJ Gray, who appeared as a surprise entrant replacing Lio Rush in the ladder match. It was a bit of a mess, this ladder match was, if we're being honest, despite the fact that all the ladders were from Lowe's or Ace Hardware. AJ Gray came in, as I said, as a surprise. Then, I mean, there's spots. It's a ladder match, right? PCO hits a Doomsday device with a ladder. Jordan Oliver hits a springboard cutter off a ladder and then off the ropes. So he does off the ladder onto the ropes and hits the cutter, which was pretty dope. Good spot there. He then Jordan Oliver gets package pile driven by PCO on a ladder, and Jordan Oliver's head lands like on a rung, and the rung actually gets an indent, and that was something. Raver sentons off of a ladder onto another ladder on which Alex Colon is laying. Then he gets razor's edged over the top rope onto a ladder on the floor, which was crazy. But anyway, the AJ Gray won, but big old mess. You know, the GCW, the multi-man matches, the scrambles, all of those, they're not my favorite part of of any like outside of like, especially when it comes to scrambles. That's usually when they'll have like someone, you know, they'll have someone come in for a spot. They'll have a surprise entrant. Outside of that, I'm like, they're never my favorite parts of any GCW show. The match of the night was the Luchador tag team match. Team Bandito, made up of ASF, Bandito, and Laredo Kid, took out Team Gringo, made up of Ares, Demonic Flamita, and Gringo Loco. This was tons of fun. It really was tons of fun. Lots of action, lots of flying around, just some great stuff. Great spots, double surfboards on the floor, Gringo Loco, Tope con Hilos on top of them. Great stuff. There's this awesome spot where they're stereo moonsaults off the same turnbuckle. It's I can't remember exactly who it was. I think it was Ares who runs up. I think Flamita's already on top, and Ares jumps off and he sort of ricochets off the top turnbuckle. And as he does, both guys fly off to do their moonsaults. Great stuff. And then the spot, which I'm sure you've all seen by now. It's been gifted over and over. I've seen it multiple times on Twitter. We get like a triple stack, 2 triple stacks, like you know when you're playing chicken? You get triple stacks of chickens and they come into each other, to sort of fight, and it ends with ASF from on someone's shoulders grabbing Ares and hitting a Canadian destroyer off of his chicken spot right down to the mat. Just crazy shit. I had never seen anything like that. Gringo Loco hits a spike pile driver on ASF for the win. Fun. And we get Lio Rush versus Blake Christian. Blake Christian was supposed to fight Jonathan Gresham. And Jonathan Gresham could not make it. Not sure why, but Lio Rush was propped up to replace Gresham in this match. It was a good match. I've seen better matches from these two, but this was pretty good. And I feel like it never hit a second gear. I think it was nothing wrong with it, but it just lacked that emotional, like, sort of boop jump up that you sort of look for in great matches. But it was still good, and it continues to show just how good Blake Christian is. My God, this guy's fantastic. He hits a big missile dive at some point, sort of kind of missile dive to rival Darby Allin's. Rush hits a Falcon Arrow. There's this awesome spot, okay, when Lio Rush hits the ropes, and you know how he'll go in low, like to do a springboard off of the bottom rope, right? So he goes in low to do that, but Blake Christian is like right behind him. He's coming in full speed, and he just railroads Rush. His back is turned and everything, and he's going in, and it was a vile spot. I loved it. Blake Christian hits a short arm Spanish fly and a springboard 450, which is cuckoo. Rush hits a jumping poison Rana in the final hour. Can't put Blake Christian away. And then the end comes when Blake Christian hits a Fosbury flop into a dragon sleeper position. Okay, are you with me? Then he flips Leo around into a tombstone, hits it right on the floor, gets him back into the ring, hits the 450 stomp. Jesus Christ! Jesus! Good stuff. Matt Cardona defeated Joey Janela. So there's a lot of people who are going to try to tell you that this match was good, but it wasn't. But it wasn't. It was just a mess. It turned out to be the celebration of an angle that Janela and Cardona were doing, right? But there were so many moving parts in this match that it was hard to follow and it was hard to care. Cardona does the Sandman entrance, the ECW Sandman entrance. We even have the "If Cardona wins, we riot" sign. We get all the memes. He has a plaid vest. It's written "Fuck Mick Foley" on the back because Mick Foley sort of called him out on Twitter. He's just leaning into it all. He cuts a promo before starting because that's his thing. He says, "Joey Janela, I'm going to end your career before Tony Khan can say you're fired." And he says it. No, he says, "You're fired." He says it in the Vince voice, right? So I'm like, all right, that was fun. Swiss Roll Chris, good to see you. Welcome to the chat. But look, it's plunder, it's stuff, but everything that happens of note in this match has nothing to do with wrestling moves. It's just stuff that happens. Chelsea Green tricks Joey Janela into thinking that she's turning on Matt Cardona, when in fact she's not. Look. Joey was a little dumb here. Dumb babyface Joey Janela. Smart Mark Sterling shows up. He says he has Vince with him, and a guy comes out in a Vince McMahon mask. He takes the mask off, and it's Vincent, aka Virgil. Swoggle is under the ring for some reason. Marco Stunt shows up. Pop. Huge pop. And then Brian Myers. Cardona's booking all his buddies. He's booking his girlfriend. Booking his best friend. Brian Myers shows up. And finally, after the match, Sean Waltman, X-Pac, runs in to save Janela in a cool moment. It gave me some good feels. You seeing Sean Waltman hit the ring, do a spinning kick, hit an X Factor. I was like, yeah, this is pretty dope. I thought it was all over the place. Just a little too much. Whatever. Then we got an angle with Mance Warner, who's good to see out and up and about because he's been injured. Clearly, he's ready to wrestle now because of the angle. But he did an angle with Matthew Justice, and Atticus Kogar with the 440 boys. Culminates with the lights going dark, popping back on, and who's there? Sabu. There's some. I love how I had tons of people on Twitter adding me. It's such a stupid thing that I do on Twitter with Sabu. Anyway. That was just an angle. Then we had Ruby Soho versus Ali Catch. I mean, this was solid enough, but it felt a little step behind. Ali Catch debuted a new look, which was awesome for her, right? And she gets into the ring, and this is a match that she's been wanting for years. It was a dream match for her, and she gets into the ring. When Ruby Soho hits the ring, they do collar and elbow lockups, and and they release, and Ali's just she can't contain herself. She's got this huge grin on her face. She's just so happy, and that. It melts your heart. Just this is so good. Ali hits her corner offense with this running cannonball. Ruby with a Saito and an STO. And the low spike Rana. Match comes to an end when Ruby hits the riot kick by dragging Ali off of the turnbuckle. And then she hits which should be Ruby Riot's finisher, period. We've talked about this. It's much more spectacular. It's the finisher. The riot kick, usually it's more like, ooh. But here it was like, no, this is good. And Ruby Soho gets booed. I'll talk about that in a minute. But, I mean, it was all right. It was all right. And we got Jeff Jarrett versus Effie. Probably one of my favorite matches, but probably my second favorite match outside of the Luchadors. I'm pretty sure this is the first time in Jeff Jarrett's career that a crowd chanted "suck his dick" at him. I think it's safe to say. So this story was actually really good. The story of this match was really good. Jeff Jarrett is doing this mysterious cowboy stranger, is just he's just out to beat people up at this point. He doesn't give a shit. He starts whipping Effie with his belt for a hell of a long time in this match. And Effie kind of liked it, which I thought was funny. At some point he's getting strangled with it and he's going, his face. I like Effie. I think it's great. Effie hits the under the rainbow and then whips Jeff Jarrett with the belt himself. There's low blows, there's dick punches, but it all ends when Jeff Jarrett smashes his guitar across Effie's head and then strokes him, the stroke, his finisher, right on the guitar while it's still... Effie, I popped into his live stream on Monday night on Twitch, and he was like, my nose is broken. I don't know what's wrong with it. And no shit, Sherlock. I liked the match. I thought it was a good story. It was a good story of a match. It's not your work rate phenomena, but it's good. But here's the thing. We're at this point here. And all the GCW regulars lost their matches. The the centerpieces, the people that were featured in the video that they made. And yet, Ali, that's why Ruby Soho got booed, because the crowd wanted Ali Catch to win. Jeff Jarrett winning over Effie, that doesn't make any sense. Effie is so goddamn over. There are people in the major wrestling promotions right now, particularly in World Wrestling Entertainment, who would like a modicum of the reactions that Effie gets. We're not even talking about Nick Gage at this point. Nick Gage is he's on another planet as far as crowd appreciation goes. But Effie's over as fuck. And I'm old enough. I don't get to talk, and I'm aiming to change this, because I don't get to talk a lot about Effie, for instance, and a lot of gay wrestlers. But I'm old enough to remember how homosexuality as gimmicks in wrestling were always used as a heel tactic. It was always heels, right? And now we have Effie, openly gay, not only open, but flaunts it, uses it, leans into it, and he is embraced. He's beloved. People are like, he's part of the fabric of GCW, of indie wrestling. The guy's great. And it's amazing. It's not perfect. Still not perfect. But it's amazing that we can have an openly gay wrestler like Effie be a top-tier babyface in the eyes of fans. You can have a guy like AC Mack go out, be very, very open about his sexual orientation, become a world champion. And the promotions, right? Enjoy wrestling, Hood Slam, so on. I'm forgetting some. Wrestler's Lab. You know, it's fantastic that we're at this stage where I'm like, Effie is over just being himself, you know? I love that shit. I think it's extremely encouraging. So, back to the point here. And by the way, Matt Riddler, not Riddler, or not Riddle, Matt Riddler. Welcome to the chat, buddy. Nice to see you. But the point still stands. So the point stands even more when it comes to Effie, who really is an embodiment of everything independent wrestling these days. The energy and, you know, breaking from what the conventions that we see on TV, so on and so forth. And he loses to Jarrett. I'm like, this is so strange. Because again, this is all under the context of GCW The Wrld, the biggest show of the year. So you're having Matt Cardona go over, you're having Jeff Jarrett go over, you're having Ruby Soho go over. Weird decisions on this pay-per-view where you're supposed to, look, we're flaunting who we are. Well, our homegrown stars can't get the job done. Janela lost, Ali lost, Effie lost. Three of the top people most associated with the brand. It's a strange. I'm not sure I understand the booking decisions behind that one. Then we had the GCW World Title match. Jon Moxley successfully defended against Homicide. This was fine, and isn't that like the theme of the pay-per-view? It was fine. And should this match have been just fine? I don't think it should have been fine. This should have been a ball breaker. This should have been one of those Jesus guys. I think it was good for the first half of the match, and then after that, it sort of lost steam. Ran out of steam. I don't know. And I get the idea of putting your main strap on Jon Moxley. I get it. But again, Mox he's not a GCW original. He's like I get it. Don't get me wrong. Moxley should have retained. That's fine. I'm okay with the decision. But it's just when you look at the whole scheme of things. And then we get the main event, which was the Briscoes, Jay and Mark Briscoe, GCW World Tag Team Champions, in an open challenge. And it was that's the Young Bucks. It's the FTR. That was the main one, right? FTR. It's going to be FTR. Well, it turned out to be Matt Tremont, deathmatch icon, and Nick fucking Gage. Now, I was shocked, I tells you, when I saw Nick Gage show up there because, look, I was worked into believing that Nick Gage was not going to be on the show. I'd been hearing stuff from a couple of areas that Nick Gage that Nick Gage and Brett Lauderdale had a falling out, and that things weren't looking good, and that Gage wasn't going to be on the show. They didn't have his merch out at the tables. And it was like, oh wow, okay. Which I found weird because I don't think there's any wrestler out there that is more associated with GCW than Nick Gage. So I was like, this blows my mind that they're doing the world. But turns out, look, I've heard conflicting tales. It was a work, Warren, or they patched things up about a week ago, Warren, everything's okay. I'm like, whatever. I got worked. Thank you. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Nick. You got me. I got worked proper. Which means that there was only like a circle of people who were meant to know. Good shit. I appreciate that. I appreciate that kind of stuff. Because I was like, it's so weird. But Nick Gage showed up. Place exploded, of course. Quick match. I've heard all sorts of reasons why. I don't care. It was a quick match. And I didn't take many notes. But you know, the two highlights of the match were the two highlights were Nick Gage and Mark Briscoe, really. And it came to an end really, really quickly. Matt Tremont and Nick Gage are your new GCW World Tag Team Champions. And all right, we're good. Time to move on. Now the big post-match promo and so on and so forth. So I'm like, look, here, like it felt like a GCW, one of these GCW shows where I'm like, all right, you know, and like I said at the beginning when I started talking about this, if this was your first GCW show, I absolutely, positively, 100% understand you going, I don't get this. What's so special? I don't see it. And it's a shame. It's a shame because this really, really was GCW's time to shine. This was their big moment. They can always have another big moment, but this was one that they had been building to since last fall. Just, you know, holding this event in the Hammerstein was not a mistake. Everything was calculated. They knew what they were doing, but like this wasn't their November to remember. What I'm drawing a blank. What's the big ECW pay-per-view? What was the big one? Yeah, November to remember, right? Yeah. No, they're barely legal. That's the one I was thinking of. This wasn't their barely legal 1997. That's what it should have been, but that's not what we got. Not a bad show, but just one that just is sort of there. Now, to Brett Lauderdale's credit, he took to Twitter today or yesterday. I don't quite remember when, but I copy pasted the Twitter text without the date because I'm a dummy. And he said this: Sunday, being the day of the pay-per-view, quote, Sunday was a smash hit business-wise for GCW. All records were shattered, and it's not even close. But I'm not happy at all. Feel like I let a lot of people down. Got played, and I should have known better. Big time learning experience. Going to work harder than ever to get a second chance. Now, I quote tweeted that when I saw it. It said, realest guy in the room. Because that is some refreshingly honest commentary from a wrestling promoter out there in the public. Just going, we fucked up. And I feel bad. So we're all on the same page here, Brett. At least we're not going to have a promoter take the airwaves and go like, that was the greatest evening I ever put on. He said, no, this wasn't good. And I'm sorry. Let some people down. It's good stuff. I can appreciate it. And that kind of honesty, in my book, goes a long way. It really goes a long way. And that's the kind of thing that I'm willing and I'm willing for their next I'm excited to see their next their next big move. And I'm excited for the collectives coming up over WrestleMania weekend, right? There's going to be all sorts of great stuff there. I'm excited for GCW. If Brett has the self-awareness to look back at this and like, look, we fucked up. I'm going to work hard for your second chance. I'm stoked for that. I can get behind that. Other than being bullshitted, I'll take that kind of honesty any day. Any day. Now, what I'd like to know is when he says, got played and I should have known better, big time learning experience. I'd like to know what happened. I mean, I know there's a lot of speculation, but I'd like to know. Wonder what happened. We'll see what kind of what the next few GCW cards start looking like. That might give us an indication. I'm excited. I'm excited to see. Look, not the greatest, but still a landmark event for GCW, and I'm glad they were able to run the Hammerstein, excuse me, that they had. The production value was up. I loved the camera work. You know, they had the crane set up, the crane jib, which was great. The cameras were all much better quality cameras. Like there was an actual upgrade put to production, and that I appreciated it. Can they hang on? Were they rented, or do they own these cameras now? Because if all GCW shows start looking like that, I mean, they won't bring a jib everywhere. Jibs are ridiculous, and you need a lot of height. You can't do armories with a jib. You know what I mean? That was good stuff. I love the production. Anakin JMT left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Anakin. He says, I'd argue Cardona is more thought of as a GCW guy than an Impact guy. Even more than a WWE guy, since Cardona wasn't a WWE guy. Zack Ryder was. Anakin and I, we've talked about this on the Discord. Join the Discord. What are you doing? Link's in the description. I don't know why you're not in the Discord yet. We've talked about this, how Matt Cardona's indie persona is much more interesting than anything he's doing on Impact. Like absolutely. it feels it's more entertaining. It's a lot more fun. Impact, they're trying to pass him off as too much of a baby face. I don't know. It's not as compelling. It's not as interesting. His indie persona is really good. And yes, GCW helped tons into forming that. It was an amazing, he had a fantastic 2021 because he leaned into who he was, gave enough self-awareness and just great stuff like that. But like when I was talking about, you know, the GCW people losing, right? I'm talking about like the originals, like the people that you really do associate with the brand. Janela, Effie, Ali Catch, Jordan Oliver, Jimmy Lloyd. I don't know why I was drawing a blank. You know, these are all the people who helped build GCW, who are the most recognizable faces of the company and who have that instant loyalty with the crowd because they know that they've been there. The GCW crowd is extremely loyal to their own. So that's what I meant when I was talking about. So I understand what you mean, that Cardona feels more like a GCW guy than anything else, and I agree, but in the grand scheme of things, he's still an outsider, and that's how he portrays himself. On top of that, he's an outsider coming in to sort of mooch off of the indie success, which was the very basis of Effie and Jeff Jarrett's feud, like the very, very foundations, where Effie was like, you just want to come in here to get some clout. I'm not going to give it to you. And he wasn't going to give him the match until he cracked open Ali Catch's skull with a guitar. That's what I mean. But I understand your point, Anakin. He does feel closer to GCW than anything else. And that wraps up the weekly wrestling inspection. How about that? Yeah, baby. Wraps up the weekly wrestling inspection. And it also wraps up this week's edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. This was one of these weeks where I was setting up and I was getting my notes together and I was like, man, do we have enough of, did enough stuff happen this week to talk, like, for me to talk about? Did we put on enough stuff? I worry every week, and Kristen can attest to this. I worry every week I'm not going to have enough stuff to talk about. Every week. And there's stuff I haven't talked about. I have a full match breakdown of the Noah show that happened this weekend. The first Higher Ground show. Headlined by Funaki versus Keno. Not that Funaki. Masakatsu Funaki. In which he defeated Keno in like under 3 minutes or 4 minutes. Ridiculous stuff. Anyway. But yeah. Hey. Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining me this evening. If you want me to talk about the Noah show, let me know. Send me a DM. Put me out on Twitter. Maybe I'll fire up a live stream tomorrow or something and just get that out of the way. But yeah. Listen, I want to thank everyone for joining me today live here Thursday nights. I cannot tell you how much I'm appreciative of that every single week. Thank you so much. If you're listening on demand right now, whether on your favorite podcast application or on YouTube, thank you so much. Leave a like, a subscribe, some reviews, whatever you can do to show some love. I appreciate it. You know what I'm about to do? I'm about to go start up another stream, but for members only. That's right. I'm gonna go talk about the Royal Rumble. I want the predictions from the Mr. Warren Hayes show community, the members. If you want to come join in, just become a member and come join us. The stream will be starting in a couple of minutes. I do that every Thursday, by the way. Every Thursday. So I hope everyone has a great rest of their evening. I hope you have a fantastic weekend on top of that, everyone. Have a great time, and we'll see you next time.